The weekend that cost my boss everything. Picture this. It's the early 2000s, and I'm working retail for one of those massive telecom mergers that was supposed to revolutionize Canadian communications. You know the type, suits and boardrooms promising synergy, while the ground-level employees wonder if they'll still have jobs next month. What I didn't know was that I was about to teach my area manager the most expensive lesson of his career, and it would only cost him one perfect weekend at his precious cottage. The setup began in December, when corporate dropped what seemed like Christmas miracle news. Service reps across the company would receive raises up to $3.50 per hour. Now, this wasn't corporate generosity. Word had leaked that our Eastern Division employees were seriously considering joining the Western Union, and panic had set in at headquarters. Nothing motivates management like the threat of organized labor, apparently. The raises were supposed to start rolling out in January, administered by area managers across the company. My area manager, let's call him Dave because he had that smug, cottage-owning Dave energy, controlled 7 or 8 stores across our region. I figured it might take a month, maybe 2, to get everyone processed. Corporate bureaucracy moves slow, right? February came and went, no raise. That's when I started asking Dave about it. The first time, he flashed that practiced manager smile and said, "Soon." The second time in March, same response. "Soon." April brought another soon, delivered with slightly less enthusiasm. By May, after my 5th or 6th inquiry, that word had started to sound like nails on a chalkboard. Here's what Dave didn't realize. I had friends at other stores in different regions. A few casual phone calls revealed something infuriating. Stores in other areas had received their raises between February and early March. Dave wasn't just slow, he was deliberately stalling. And I knew exactly why. See, area managers received quarterly bonuses, and those bonuses were calculated based on cost savings versus budget. Every month Dave delayed our raises was another month of padding his numbers. He was literally stealing from his employees to line his own pockets, and that soon was his way of buying time until after his bonus period ended. The rage that built up inside me during those months wasn't just about the money, though $3.50 an hour adds up when you're living paycheck to paycheck. It was about the principle. This man looked me in the eye month after month, knowing he was screwing me over, and smiled while doing it. So I did what any reasonable person would do. I wrote a 4-page manifesto detailing exactly how we were being screwed and why unionization was looking more attractive by the day. I crafted this letter with the precision of a legal document and the passion of someone who'd been lied to for months. Then I saved it, waiting for the perfect moment to deploy my nuclear option. That moment came on a beautiful Friday during the May-long weekend. Dave strutted into the store that morning with his usual swagger, probably already mentally packing for his weekend getaway. Like clockwork, I asked about the raise. Like clockwork, he gave me that infuriating "soon." But this time was different. This time, I was ready. Now, Dave had one weakness. He loved bragging about his Muskoka cottage. This wasn't just any cottage. This was his pride and joy, his escape from the peasants he managed, his symbol of success. He couldn't help himself from mentioning it whenever possible. That Friday, he casually mentioned he'd be leaving around noon to beat the traffic. "How long's the drive?" I asked innocently. "Oh, about 3 hours. We should be there by 3 p.m., just in time to start the long weekend properly." Perfect. At exactly 4 p.m., while Dave was presumably cracking his first beer and admiring his lake view, I opened my work email and hit send. 4 pages of documented frustration, complete with dates, times, and witness names, landed directly in the inbox of our company's president and CEO. I didn't go through channels. I didn't escalate properly. I went straight to the top and lit the fuse on Dave's career. The email laid everything out. How Dave had delayed our raises for months while other regions got theirs immediately, how his quarterly bonus structure incentivized screwing over employees, how his constant lies were pushing people toward unionization, and how this kind of management was exactly why the merger was failing to retain talent. I went home that Friday night feeling lighter than I had in months. Dave was probably grilling burgers and planning his Saturday on the lake. He had no idea that 200 miles away in Toronto, a very angry CEO was reading about his little bonus scheme. Saturday morning, 7 a.m. sharp, I opened the store as usual. My plan plan was simple: ruin Dave's weekend by ensuring the CEO tore him apart first thing Monday morning. What I didn't expect was to see Dave's BMW pulling into the parking lot at 7:15 a.m. This man had been forced to pack up his cottage weekend, drive 3 hours through Saturday morning traffic, just to come grovel to the employee he'd been screwing over for months. The look on his face when he got out of that car was priceless, a mixture of rage, defeat, and the kind of exhaustion that comes from explaining to your spouse why the weekend is canceled. We talked in the parking lot because Dave couldn't risk other employees overhearing what was about to be the most humiliating conversation of his management career. "Everyone in our region is getting their raise retroactive to January 1st, he began, his voice tight with barely controlled anger. "Everyone from your store is getting the maximum amount." The victory was sweeter than I'd imagined. Not only had I gotten our raises, but the retroactive pay meant we were getting several months of back pay. Dave's bonus quarterly? Gone. His weekend? Ruined. His standing with corporate? Demolished. "You ruined my weekend," he said, and I could see in his eyes that he wanted to strangle me. "I'd be happy to forward you the email I sent you. It documents every single date and time I spoke to you about this, along with your response. Funny thing about documentation, it doesn't lie." His jaw tightened. "Look, we can work this out. You were stealing from me." I cut him off. "Every month you delayed my raise while padding your bonus numbers, you were stealing money from my pocket. So forgive me if I don't feel bad that your bonus got cut and your weekend sucked." The power dynamic had completely flipped. For months, Dave had all the cards, dispensing those condescending soons while I begged for what was rightfully mine. Now I was the one in control, and we both knew it. I decided to end the conversation on my terms. "There's nothing more to discuss here," I said, turning toward the store. "I need to get back to work." But I couldn't resist one final twist of the knife. "Have a great drive back to Muskoka, Dave. I hear it's quite scenic this time of year." The look he gave me could have melted steel, but there was nothing he could do. I owned him now, and he knew it. Walking away from that conversation felt like floating. After months of being dismissed and lied to, I have finally gotten justice, and in the most spectacular way possible. The aftermath was even better than the initial victory. Within hours of getting back to the store, my phone started ringing. Workers from other locations had heard what happened and were calling to thank me. Word travels fast in retail, and apparently Dave's forced apology tour hadn't been limited to just me. Corporate had made him explain himself to multiple store managers, and the story spread like wildfire. I made sure to share every detail of what had happened. Nobody told me to keep quiet, and I saw no reason to protect Dave's dignity when he'd spent months destroying mine. Every conversation was another nail in his reputation's coffin. The best part? I wasn't worried about retaliation because I was already planning my exit strategy. This telecom job was just a stepping stone while I built my real career, and I'd be gone in 6 to 8 months regardless. Dave might have wanted revenge, but he was stuck with me just long enough to sweat about what I might do next. Looking back, the whole situation could have been avoided with basic honesty and respect. If Dave had just communicated the timeline honestly, or better yet, processed our raises when he was supposed to, none of this would have happened. Instead, his greed cost him his weekend, his bonus, his reputation, and probably a few years off his life from the stress. Sometimes the best revenge isn't getting mad. It's getting everything you deserve and making sure the person who tried to screw you over pays the full price for their choices. Dave learned that lesson the hard way, one scenic drive at a time. Top comments. "Holy shit, I think I know exactly which telecom merger you're talking about. I was working for the Western side during that exact same time period. We heard rumors about Eastern managers pulling this crap but never had confirmation. The fact that you got everyone retroactive pay is legendary. Dave probably still wakes up in cold sweats thinking about that email. Our regional manager was actually decent and got our raises out in early February. Makes me wonder how many other Daves were out there screwing over employees while corporate thought everything was running smoothly." Comment. "Former retail manager here can confirm this bonus structure nonsense was everywhere in the early 2000s. I watched so many area managers play games with employee benefits to juice their quarterly numbers. The worst part? Corporate often knew, but didn't care as long as the overall budget looked good. What you did was beautiful because you didn't just get revenge, you exposed a systemic problem. I guarantee that CEO had a very uncomfortable conversation with the entire management chain after your email." Comment. "The patience you showed is incredible. Most people would have blown up after the second or third soon. But you waited, documented everything, and struck at the perfect moment when he was most vulnerable." Question though, did you ever find out what happened to Dave long term? Did he get fired or just demoted? And more importantly, did corporate change the bonus structure after this incident? Author: Dave lasted about another year before getting restructured out during another round of merger consolidations. Word through the grapevine was that he never recovered his standing with corporate after the email incident. As for the bonus structure, they did modify it the following year to remove direct cost savings incentives for employee compensation delays. Small victory, but a victory nonetheless. Comment: have a great drive back to Muskoka. I hear it's quite scenic. Dead! The absolute balls on you to deliver that line while walking away. That's some movie villain level stuff right there. I bet he was shaking with rage but couldn't do anything about it because he knew you had all the power in that moment. Comment: this is exactly why we need strong unions. Dave could pull this crap because individual employees had no leverage. You got lucky that you had an exit strategy and nothing to lose, but most people don't have that luxury. That said, your approach was brilliant. Sometimes you have to work within the system to expose how broken it is. Did this incident actually help push more Eastern employees toward unionization? Author: funny you ask. Within 6 months of this incident, 3 of the 7 stores in our region had started serious union talks. Dave's replacement was much more professional, but the damage to employee trust was already done. Corporate's fear of unionization is exactly what created the raise program in the first place. So, in a way, the union threat worked even without formal organization. Comment: as someone who's been in retail management for 15+ years, this story gives me anxiety because I've definitely seen managers like Dave who think they're untouchable. The cottage bragging was probably what sealed his fate. If he had kept his mouth shut about his weekend plans, you might not have had such perfect timing. Also, props for documenting everything. Most employees don't realize how powerful a paper trail can be when dealing with corporate. You basically handed the CEO a smoking gun with dates, times, and witnesses. No wiggle room for Dave to spin it as a misunderstanding. Write what you think about this situation. Also, if you like this video, give a thumbs up, subscribe, and turn on the bell to receive notifications about the latest videos. See you next time. Bye-bye.